Welcome back to the second part of my tutorial where I am taking an initial look at the Battlefield Builder and Logic Editor built into Portal, which comes as part of Battlefield 2042. In the first video we looked at setting up the initial server settings, and in this video we're going to take a closer look at setting up the Logic Editor and the different rules in order to set up our custom one-in-the-chamber game mode. Obviously this video is going to be slightly longer than normal, and that's because we're going to work our way through different aspects of the Logic Editor and look at a few rules to piece together our final experience. If you're only interested in some of the smaller parts of the Logic Editor or understanding what each of the different commands do, I will be producing some smaller videos looking at different aspects and different commands, and they will come later. However, I am a firm believer in doing something and creating something, so if you work your way through this entire tutorial video and combine that with the first one, you will have, by the time you've finished, had a good look at the Logic Editor and produced a complete experience that you'll be able to share with your friends. As before, I do have my PlayStation set to remote play behind my main Logic Editor screen. This will be especially useful as we work through the Logic Editor and experiment with different things, because we'll very easily be able to switch back to a PlayStation 5, boot up Portal and run the experience to check the changes that we are making as we go along. If you like the video, I would really appreciate a little thumbs up and possibly even a subscribe, and if you really enjoy it, I would really love it if you would share this with your friends. For now though, let's crack on with the tutorial. So here we are in the Logic Editor, ready to build the logic for our one-in-the-chamber game mode. So if you watched my introduction video, the first video that I put out on the Logic Editor, you will know that the logic in Portal is made up of a mod. You can see that there, that block. And we place all of the rules that we want to take place in this game mode within the mod. A mod is made up of a collection of rules, and we can see on the left hand side that we can add additional rules to the mod if we wish to, simply by dragging and dropping them in place. And if you've used something like Scratch online, you will know how simple that is. If the jigsaw piece, if you like, the little block of code fits, it will drag and drop and connect in place. So we've got a mod, Logic Editor. Our logic is made up of mods. It is made up of a collection of rules, and each rule will be triggered. So each rule will happen when an event takes place. So something happens in the game, and when that happens, it will check to see whether it should run these actions. The events in game can be got to by clicking on the little list, and these are all the events that you can force to trigger an action. And you can see there's quite a few there. We will be going into more detail about all of these different sections in a later video. At the moment, what we want to do is we are going to create a little introduction text. So when somebody joins the game mode, this is going to be some text that will appear in the top corner of the screen. In order to do that, then what we want to do is we want onGameModeStarted. Okay, so we've set the event to onGameModeStarted. These boxes are grey, so we can type in the name of the rule. So we will call this Start Game Setup. It doesn't actually matter what you call it. It's really more for your reference than anything else, or for anybody that might want to copy your experience and use it for themselves. I'm a big fan of making sure that the rules are named something sensible so that you know what that does later on. So there's a couple of things that we want to do with this game mode. The first thing is we are going to set up some custom rules for the game mode itself. We don't want to use the standard scoring mechanism that is within the game. So what we are going to do is we are going to turn off that scoring mechanism. So if I go into gameplay, you will see here that it says Enable Default Game Mode Scoring. I'm going to grab that block and I am going to drop it into the actions. So this allows us to either enable or disable the default game mode scoring. So in a game of conquest, that might be based on tickets. So in order to disable that, we also need to tell it to set that to false. So down at the bottom, we want literals, that's the one. And in the literals, you will find this, which is a Boolean, and we can drag it and drop it there. Now, I have seen some people say, what is a Boolean? Well, in actual fact, what's a Boolean? It's just a value that is either true or false, and we are going to set that to false. So that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to tell it we don't want to use the default game mode for scoring. We are going to set our own scoring mechanism. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to display a custom message when the game starts. In order to do that, we can find those options under user interface. Now, in actual fact, this might be useful for you no matter what. We are going to use the display custom message option, and we are going to drop that in there. And here it is waiting for some text. So let's have a look. What shall we put there? We'll put some information about what the game mode is and what we want players to do. Now this takes there's a few extra things that we need to do here. Alright, so we are going to click on user interface, and we are going to get this little box here that says message. And this message allows us to structure some text or structure something in order to display it on the screen. I'm going to drag and drop there. And then you can see that it's got these little circles in there, and what that's saying is you can place in there some text, a number, or you can actually place in there a player. What we're going to do is we are going to get this little text box. So we clicked on literals, and we've got this little text box, and I'm going to drag and drop that into the message there. Now we can put whatever we want in there, so I'm going to call this one in the chamber, and I'm going to drag and drop that into the message there. Okay, now then, we might be wondering what these extra boxes are just along here. Well, for some of them we'll come to those later on, but let's say we are curious, we want to know how this works, this block, and how we need to set it up. Well, when we hover over a block, you'll see that it gives us a little bit of information. Now that might not be particularly useful to most of you, so what we can do is we can right click on it and click on the help button. You can see it's popped out with this big massive custom screen, and you can see it's giving me some information. It says what are the inputs. So the inputs is the message that we want to send. For this particular box, it says CustomMessageSlotsItem. Then we've got number, and then we've got player. Just let me explain a couple of things about those. Okay, actually at the top it says display a message on screen exclusive to custom game modes, which ours is. Using the custom message slots item, this message can be displayed on multiple lines. It will stay up for the length of the provided duration, or stay up indefinitely if a negative number is provided. It will be displayed to everyone unless a specific player or team ID is provided. Just a quick note here, it does say it's your responsibility to ensure a safe and fair experience for others. In other words, don't put inappropriate messages in your game mode. Now you do risk a ban. Right, so the first thing it's asking for is a message. Let's just check. Yep, okay, so this is the display custom message section, and this is the message. What was the next item that it asked for? Custom message slots item. Now this message box is an interesting one because you can display it on multiple lines on your screen, and once we've built this custom message, I'll run it on the test server and you'll be able to see what I mean. But for now, just going to find the option that slots in this little part here for the slot number. You'll find that under selection list. It's a bit of a weird one, is this, because you can see that it's just their custom message slot. So we're just going to drag that over and drop it in there. You can see that it's accepted. I'm just going to kind of move this over a little bit so we can see what's going on. And you can see that it says custom message slot header text. If we just click there, you can see the multiple layers that we can put it on. And obviously when I show you running in the server, you'll be able to see what that means. But we're just going to leave that one in the header text. Last but not least, we're going to put a duration in there. We need another literal. You can see I didn't really explain these particularly well early on, but this is if we need some text, this is if we need a number, and that one we used earlier if we need a Boolean value, either true or false. In this case we need a number, and we will drag and drop that there. And we'll have it on for 20 seconds. The final box there is for if we want it to be displayed to a team or a player. If we leave those empty, this message will be displayed to everyone. I'm going to add an extra couple of layers to this just before I show it on the screen. So I'm going to right click on this custom message box, and I am going to duplicate it because we want additional layers with some further text on there. So in this case we are going to put in there one shot. Oh, that's badly spelled. One shot, one kill, and we will put that on the message text one line. Then we're going to duplicate that, and I will drop that on there, and we will put one bullet ammo replenished on kills. Okay, so that gives us our custom message. Oh, just make sure that that one's on the second level. So on screen when we run it, and I'll show you that in a moment, you will see one in the chamber, one shot, one kill, one bullet ammo replenished on kills. Right, let's have a look what happens on the screen when we run that particular block of code. You might want to use that in your games if you're setting up a custom server all of your own and you just want to, I don't know, introduce your clan or whatever it is. You can put that up at the start of the game mode and yeah, send a message to everybody in the game mode. So the final thing for us to do in this start game setup mode is to set the actual score that we need in order to win the game. So we are just going to go back into the gameplay section, and let's scroll down a little bit, see if we can find something that might be appropriate. You can see there's a whole lot of options here, but we do have SetGameModeTargetScore. So we'll drag that in. You can see we just drop it in there, and there we go. And we will need one of these, a number from our literals section. So this is where we're going to set the target score to win the game. Let's set that to 25. Right, so the next thing that we're going to do is set up the starting ammunition for each player. We're going to do this nice and simply. So we'll put a new rule in. We'll call that start ammo. Okay, and this is going to be when a player spawns into the game. So when a player, now let's just have a look what we've got here as our options. onPlayerDeployed, I think that might be the best option. Okay, so the players died, or whenever they join the game, just start, and this is going to allow us to give them the necessary ammo that we want them to play with. In actual fact, we want them to have one bullet whenever they spawn. Okay. Now in order to do that, we need again to look at the player option at the top, and you can see we've got these as options. So we've got SetInventoryAmmo, SetInventoryMagazineAmmo. These are the two that we are going to be using. The first one will be this one, SetInventoryAmmo. Let's have a little look at what this particular block of code needs us to do. Help. Okay, and you can see it says sets the target player's loaded ammo for the provided player inventory slots item, and it needs to know who the player is, which slot item we should be putting the ammo in, and the number of ammunition that we want. So in actual fact, if you want them to be loaded in with a pistol with 2,000 bullets, I don't know what the maximum number is, but you could use this for that. Let's go back. So we've got the player, the item that we want to assign the ammunition to, and the number that we want. Now then, for the player, and this is that will apply anywhere where you see this player icon or the team icon, what we need is the event payload. And the event payload, when an action is triggered, it sends some information to the rule. And that information is to do with the event. You can see the event other player. All that means is if somebody gets killed, it will send the information to the event about who it was that killed them. The event player, that's who actually got killed, and the event team being the team that that player was on. In this case, it's the event player that we want to have this action trigger for. So on a player deployed, we want to set the inventory ammo of the player that was deployed, and then we need the list. This little box thing here suggests we want a list, and we need to have a look down the list to find the weapon that we want to set ammunition for. We are going to find player inventory slots. Is that the one that we want? Yes, we do. So that's the slot that we are trying to alter the ammunition for. And we are going to select this, and we are going to say the primary weapon. And in actual fact, we will do the same, duplicate, for the secondary weapon as well. Secondary weapon. And we are going to set both of those to have a value of 1. And if you remember from before, we can get the values from the literals. This is a number we need just there. Let's get another one. Drag and drop it into there. So that is going to set the inventory ammo for both the primary weapon and the secondary weapon to 1. Now you might be thinking, why set the primary weapon and the secondary weapon to 1 when we actually only have one weapon in the game? Well, this will give us a little bit more flexibility, or for whoever use this is the experience later on, because they'll be able to select a different weapon in the builder, restart the server, and as long as the person has in their possession either a primary or a secondary weapon, each one of those will have 1 bullet. We're also going to make sure that they have no ammunition in the magazine for each weapon, because obviously we only want them to have 1 bullet, and we only want them to get 1 bullet back if they kill someone. So in order to do that, we're going to go back, player, and we can have a look just down here, and we've got SetInventoryMagazineAmmo, which we can also just drag and drop in. And again, we need to go with the event player. So we'll find that under payloads, event player. We can drag that and drop it in there. And we also want to grab one of these. Let's duplicate it from there. Player inventory slots, primary weapon, and we will grab that one from there and pop that in there. So we've got our 1. Let's duplicate that and drag that and drop it in. And let's set the same for the secondary weapon. Let's set their ammunition to 0 so they've got no magazines. And that is the end of that particular rule. You can see now we've set up another rule. This rule runs when the player is deployed. There are no conditions, it will always happen. And this action will set the inventory ammo of the player that triggered it for the primary weapon to have 1 bullet. And you can see that we've done the same for the secondary weapon, and for the magazine ammo we have reduced those to 0. 1 bullet on the start of the game. And that's it for that particular rule. So now we're on the most complicated part of this particular mod, and that is how to deal with when a player gets a kill. Obviously the game itself will deal with the killing action, but we do know that if the player kills somebody, whether they melee them or whether they shoot them, they should get their bullets back. They should have a bullet added to their inventory. In addition, we're going to make it work so that if they melee someone and they've already got 1 bullet in their gun, they will get an additional bullet, so they will get 2 bullets. So if they run around meleeing everyone, they can end up with a clip full of bullets. Again, we're going to need another rule in order for this to work. Let's scroll down a little bit and let's add this new rule, and for this one we're going to call it player kill. Now this time the event is going to be onPlayerEarnedKill, and you can see that there are no, it doesn't kind of attach itself to anything, because obviously it's a player that's going to trigger it. So let's have a think about this. What do we need to happen? Well, if they get a kill, what we need to do is add 1 bullet to their inventory ammo. So let's have a look. We've already got this block of code up here, SetInventoryAmmo. So maybe we could use this block to set the inventory ammo, and maybe we could reuse this block to set the inventory ammo for the secondary weapon. So let's just have a look what we've got so far. We've got on the player getting a kill, set their inventory ammo to 1 for the primary weapon and 1 for the secondary weapon. The only problem with that is that that doesn't add 1 on. So if they had no bullets, then that will give them 1. However, if they melee someone and they've already got 1 bullet, that will still only give them 1. Now, the logic editor allows us to do a little bit of maths and use some other variables or some other values to do calculations with. So let's have a look how this might work. I'm going to take that one on there. Now what we want to do is we want to add the number of bullets that are already in the weapon to 1, or 1 to the number of bullets that's already in the weapon. So if we look under the maths section, you'll see all of these different mathematical functions that we can do, and for this one we are just going to add values together. Now what we need is, we've got the 1, so we want to add these two things together. We're going to add 1, and what goes in here? Right, well in here we need to find out how much ammo the player already has. So let's see if we can find that. So we've got this under player, and it says here get inventory ammo. So let's get that. Just going to drag it into that little block there. Okay, and then it needs to know whose inventory ammo we want. Well, we want the player who triggered, who earned the kill. Okay, and then last but not least, we want to know which slot we want the inventory ammo from. So we are going to drop that one in there. Now that looks quite complicated. Feel free just to copy it if you want to, but all this is saying is set the inventory ammo for the player that got the kill, for their primary weapon, to what these two values are added together. So add what the current inventory ammo is for the player that got a kill in their primary weapon with the value 1. Now in actual fact, that gives us all of the information that we need. So I'm just going to drag that one away and delete it, because we don't need that. But what we can do is we can duplicate that and change this to be their secondary weapon. So that's fantastic. So now we have the ability to add a bullet to each one of their guns every time they earn a kill. Right, we're nearly there now, and you've seen quite a lot of different blocks in use. So the final part of this is perhaps we want to put a little message on there to tell them that they got a kill, and then we need to check the winning condition to see whether they have scored enough kills to win the game. So in the game we are now going to add a little message to the player to tell them that they got a kill. We're also going to tell them who they killed and how many kills they have remaining in order to win the game. So in order to do that, we have user interface. If you remember from earlier on, this time we're going to display a notification message instead. There we go. Let's just drop that there, and then we can drag it in to there. So again, it needs a message. What do you want us to display? So if you remember from earlier on, we need the message box to be shown, and that's under the user interface option. Here's a message box again. I'm going to drop that in there. Okay. We are going to need some text in this, so we remember that comes from the literal section, and we can place that in there. Now this one's a little bit more complicated because we need to put some additional information in there about who they killed and how much score they have left to get. So let's do that. If we have another look at this and look at the help section, you will see that it has this display notification message. Now it says what the message is and who the player is for. And if we look at the message box and look at the help on there, you'll see that this has some very strange additional information. It says the message object is created by providing a format string which can take up to 3 format items. And it says, if we just look here, we've got, for example, the string curly braces gained curly points can be given a player and number parameter and could output as John gained 2 points. So let's have a look what they mean by that. So if we want this message to be well done, you killed, and then we want a player name. So we're just going to put some curly braces in there in place, dot, and then we want the number of kills. So we're going to put some curly braces because that's some information that we don't have, kills remaining. Okay. Now we've built the basic structure. Now what this block of code now needs us to do is to put in these next blocks what value should go in there and what value should go in there. What value should go in the first and the second curly braces? Well, if we remember way back to when we first started, you'll know that there are payloads for each event. And if we go back into the event payload, you can see we have event other player. So if a player earns a kill, they are the event player, and the other player that they killed is the event other player. So this will now read, well done, you killed whoever this was, and then we need the number of kills remaining. So how do we get the number of kills remaining? Well, we know that the number of kills that they require, the game score, is this SetModeTargetScore, and we also know if we can get hold of the number of kills that they currently have, if we subtract one from the other, we'll get the result that we are looking for. So remember again, we need a little bit of maths, don't we? Subtract one from the other. Let's see if we can find subtract. There it is on the list. So we need to subtract, and we are going to say number of kills remaining. So we want the game mode score, get game mode target score, and we want to subtract from that the player's current score. So let's have a look. Get player kills. And the number of kills we want is for the event player. There we go. Okay. So now this will show a message. It will say, well done, you killed whoever this person was. You have this number of kills remaining in order to win the game. The final part of this, if you remember, is who this message is going to be shown to. We want this to be shown to the player who got the kill. So in order to do that, we just need the event player payload. Let's get it from here. And we need to drag and drop that on there. So this notification, this display notification message is going to be shown to the player that got the kill. Right, we're on a final, last tiny little block of code to make this work. In this, we want the game mode to end when the player reaches the target game mode score. If we scroll down a little bit, we can use these control actions, and we're going to use what's called an if statement, and it's going to be this one. So we're going to drag and drop that out there, and we're going to say basically if this player that's just got this kill has met the game mode target score, the game will end. Let's just build that then. So if, we need a bit of logic, if one thing equals another, so if the current player's number of kills, oh look, we've got that over here, get player kills, but we did find it underneath players, so get player kills. So if this, for the current player, equals the game mode target score, then they're going over one, aren't they? So if the player kills for this player equals the game mode target score, then the game is going to end. And we're going to get from the top up here, just on the gameplay section, there will be a end game mode option. Let's have a look. Where is it? End game mode. There we go. End game mode. Let's just check what the options are for the end game mode option. Let's see. Let's help. And you can see here, ends the current game mode and designates the provided player or team ID. The game mode ends in draw if team ID is set to 0. So we actually want the event player to be the winner. There we go. That is the end of our very first script that we have written in the logic editor. It's quite a complicated one. I shall just run you back through what it is that we've done so that you can summarize it for yourself. So we've got 3 rules. One of those rules starts when the game starts. One of them is on the player is deployed, and one of them is on the player earned kill. If we have a look, you can see that we've disabled the default game scoring mode, and we have set the target score for this mode to be 25. And then we've displayed a custom message for 20 seconds on 3 separate lines. When a player is deployed, we are going to set that player's primary and secondary weapons ammo to be 1, and we are going to give them no magazines for each of those players. When they earn a kill, we are going to add 1 bullet to their primary and secondary weapon. Oh look, I've made a mistake. And then we are going to display a message telling them, well done, you killed this player, you have this many kills remaining, and last but not least, if they've got enough kills, if the number of kills they've got meets the target game mode score, it is going to end the game mode for that player. And that is the end of our build for One in the Chamber. It's been quite a long video. I hope you've managed to follow along. Following this, I'm going to have a little run through. I'll put some gameplay footage of this particular mode being played so that you can see how it works. But obviously, feel free to go ahead. Once you've worked your way through the video, you should be able to share this experience with your friends. To share the experience with your friends, we're just going to click the Save button. Make sure we've saved our experience. Make sure you've created the experience, and if you show the code, this is the code that will run that particular game mode. Thanks for sticking with us all the way through this video. It has been quite long. I will be doing some significantly shorter tutorials in the future. If there are any game modes that you would like me to create or anything that you'd like me to have a look at, feel free to get in touch, leave a comment below, and I will continue working with this as we go along. In the meantime, thanks very much.